Matt, there's one player in particular when you address the strength and conditioning side of things that I'm interested to see what he looks like. And then also in particular types of games and particular types of matchups, how he responds. And that's Eric Gentry, who we saw in the early portion of 2022 show that, okay, this is a really unique player who can be extremely effective. He's long and lean and athletic and gets into passing lanes and so forth. So he's a unique player that needs to be utilized and a tremendous addition to the defense. However, the wear and tear of the season, and then you get into certain games and certain game situations, and I just recollect him running into a couple Utah
Yeah.
offensive linemen and running backs that weren't necessarily, in his favor, and it was quite ugly to watch.
Yeah. So Gentry came to USC at roughly 205 pounds. And earlier this summer, it was reported that Gentry had bulked up to 223 pounds. So that's almost 20 pounds of weight and muscle gain. So, so he has definitely taken the hint. He's definitely been aware of, the book on him, how to beat him. And so, how he carries that extra weight and muscle, like making that adjustment, that's going to be fascinating to see. And I would say that for any USC player who's bigger, thicker, and a lot of these guys are, like, that's been a widespread observation. I know Tim Prangley's made that a lot at Trojan Conquest Live. It also points to, in these early season games, it points to the need to not overextend them, especially like these first two games in the Coliseum against San Jose State and Nevada. We're probably going to have pretty warm weather. Last year, the opening weekend of the season, there was a heat wave in Los Angeles. It was close to 100 degrees. Like, that was why UCLA had under 30,000 for the opener against Bowling Green. It wasn't just the ho-hum matchup with a MAC team in Pasadena. It's also because the weather was just really hot. And at the Rose Bowl, and it's similar at the Coliseum for a day game or an afternoon game, like, there's not a whole lot of protection from the sun. Like at Husky Stadium in Seattle, you have the big awnings, you have the big, overhangs, and there are a lot of shaded seats in that ball yard, but not at the Coliseum and definitely not at the Rose Bowl. So people are just going to fry in those seats. So anyway, if it's really hot, like, you don't want your thicker, bigger, bulkier players who have gone through this significant bodily change, you don't want them to be overextended. So that's also going to be something to watch. Like, it's a natural inclination. Like, you have the new look Eric Gentry, 18, 20 pounds thicker. He's a bigger, badder dude. Let's give him more action. Honest impulse, a natural impulse. But you have to temper that against, he's adjusting to his body. He's trying to learn how to do this. You don't want to try to do it all at once. And that also brings us back to USC has 6 weeks to ramp up and, get everyone really in tip-top shape for the most important games of its season without giving too much work to any one or two individuals. The schedule is conducive to giving lots of players chances to ease their way into the season. Just as a point of comparison, remember last year we talked about Oregon State, September 24th, huge game. Would USC be ready that early in the season to meet that challenge? It turns out the defense was, offense wasn't. Offense needed a little more time, before it really began posting those elite numbers that carried Caleb Williams to the Heisman Trophy. But this season, you do not have a September pressure cooker on par with what Oregon State was in Corvallis last year, September 24th. You do not have any game with that kind of pressure, any game that's expected to be as close as that Oregon State game figured to be. You don't have any game like that until the Notre Dame game on October 14th. So when we talk about Eric Gentry, and when we talk about the other players on this roster who are bigger, thicker, bulkier, carrying more muscle, it will be important for the coaching staff just to make sure that these guys aren't being given too much too quickly, that you don't put too much on their plate right away, and you make sure that like they can adjust to their bodies, they can adjust to their physiques, and how it fits into their role on the team, how it fits into their assignments on specific plays. There's just a lot for this coaching staff to juggle.